Hey there, thanks so much for being here. Today I want to do a tiny little tutorial to show you the two special stitches that you need in order to make this two-color brioche hat that I've been working on for some time now. So if you guys have been watching this channel for some time, you'll know that a while back I made a little two-color brioche tutorial because I had started a hat. This hat pattern is by Katrin Schubert, and she's designed this hat. She just designs many beautiful brioche hats, but this one happens to be called Camella. And so I've been working on this for a while because, you know, at first brioche stumped me, so I had to figure out how that worked. So that's what the first tutorial was about. The second time around, I thought, okay, I'm going to try this hat again. I'm going to work on this hat because I want to do this swoopy, waving brioche and getting it to move all over the place. And so I started this hat again from scratch. Did the beginning of this, which is basically just two-color brioche straight, and then started to have to go into the curvy part. And there's two stitches that I was not familiar with, and so these two stitches I wanted to just show you how to do them, because once I figured out how to do them, it was no problem at all. it was a way bigger deal in my mind than it actually was. So in this pattern there are just two special stitches. One of them is called Brioche 4-stitch increase, and then the other one is called Brioche right slipped decrease. So basically the Brioche 4-stitch increase is taking one stitch and then making it into 5 stitches. So you have then increased 4 stitches. That's one, and I'll show you how to do that one. The other one is called the Brioche right slip decrease, and so that is a decrease that slants to the right, but it basically turns 3 stitches into 1 stitch. So you decrease 2 stitches. So before I show you how to do those stitches, I'm going to show you what those stitches actually look like. So you can see in my hat here, the first inch or so is just straight brioche, two-color brioche. And then things start to happen. So you can see this one line is slanting to the right and it's crossing over all of these other columns here. And so this one that is slanting to the right, that is created with the brioche right slip decrease stitch. So we have to know how to do that slanting decrease. The other stitch that's happening here is this one where you're making one column is going to become 5 stitches. So there's going to be 3 stitches that are the main color and 2 stitches that are the contrast color. So you can see where that sort of happened here as well. So 1 stitch has become 5 stitches. So 3 light colored stitches and 2 dark colored stitches. And it happens again here. So those are the 2 stitches that you need to know. This is the increase and this is the decrease. So I'm here just about ready to start my next round, and you can see that the color that I'm going to be working with is the main color, which is my lighter color. This is the strawberry tea color. The darker color here is called Shadow, and you can tell that I just finished doing a contrast color round because the contrast color shows up more times on my left-hand needle. So now I'm going to go and do my next round with my main color, which is the strawberry tea. And for the first one, all I need to do is brioche knit. So I knit that stitch with the contrast color that is just looping over it. I'm going to do my brioche purl, which is to slip the purl stitch with the yarn in front. And so that causes those two to be wrapped around. So now I'm ready to do my decrease stitch, and so you can hopefully see the 3 stitches that I need to decrease to make this happen. So this is a knit with the contrast color overlapping it, so that's stitch number 1. There's a regular purl stitch, that's my stitch number 2, and then here's another knit stitch with the contrasting color laid over it, and so that's stitch number 3. So to do this brioche right slip decrease, it takes these 3 stitches and it's going to make this line slant towards the right this way. Okay, so in order to do this, what I need to do is to first slip this first stitch as if to knit, and then I knit into this next stitch, which is just that plain purl, and then I'm going to pull this one over, so pass the slipped stitches over the stitch that I just knitted, and you can see that's basically a decrease. And then I take that stitch that I just slipped over, put it back onto the left-hand needle, and then shuffle them together a little bit closer so I can get at them, and then take the third stitch that I was working on, and that is going to be pulled over this stitch. And then I'm going to just snug this up tight a little bit. And so you can see that this knit stitch is slanting to the right. It's crossing over these other columns that were made, and it's a right decrease. So we've taken 3 stitches and made them just 1 stitch. So I'm just going to show that to you again. So we have these 3 stitches that are going to be combined to make 1 stitch. So the first thing to do is to slip the first stitch as if to knit. The second thing is to knit the second stitch. And then we're going to pass the slipped stitches over that stitch that we just knitted. And then I'm going to slip that stitch back onto the left-hand needle. Okay. And then the next stitch, which is this, is going to get passed over. And then we snug up that stitch, and then you can see this is a decrease that is slanting to the right and crosses over all of these other columns. Then I can slip this stitch back onto the right hand needle and then continue on. Okay, great. So now I'm in position to do the other special stitch, which is called the Brioche 4-stitch increase. So this is the stitch, if you can see. I've done one previously, and in this particular design there's going to be another one stacked on top, so this increase stacks on top. And it seems like it's going to make kind of like a tree-like effect, right? So this is like branches that have come out. This is actually, I think, leaves, but this is branches that have come out, and then this center stitch is going to have another set of branches coming out of it, basically. So in order to do the increase into this 1 stitch, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my needle in, and I'm going to knit it as per usual, but rather than taking it off the needle, I'm going to leave it on the needle, and then I'm going to do a yarn over my right needle. I'm going to go back in, knit it again, leaving it on the needle, yarn over again, and then go in and knit it again. And now you can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 strands on my right hand needle, and now I'm going to slip it off. So 1 stitch becomes 5 stitches. So I'm going to continue on in my pattern. Okay, great. So again, we're at this spot where I'm going to make that increase into this 1 stitch here. So basically all I do is I take my needle into the stitch as if to knit. I'm going to knit that stitch, but rather than taking it off the needle, I'm going to do my yarn over. I'm going to put the tip back into the same stitch, knit it again, do another yarn over, and then put the needle back into the stitch one more time, knit it again, and now I have 5 stitches on my right hand needle coming out of that 1 stitch, and then I'm going to let that stitch go. So I've taken 1 stitch and increased it into 5 stitches. So that's really all you need to know in order to knit this Camella Hat by Katrin Schubert. I was stuck on this for quite a number of weeks just because I couldn't bring myself to reading the instructions and reading how it actually worked. And once I figured out the stitches, I was like, oh, this is absolutely super, super simple, because all you need to do is to think of your main color as the color that you're drawing with. This is the color that we're drawing our stitch lines with. So all of the activity, all of the actual decreasing and increasing happens when you're using the main color of the yarn. The contrast color of the yarn, this dark color, this is like when you're knitting lace. This is your pearl rows. This is basically your resting rows almost. So I do all of my drawing, I do my, my main activity stitches with this main color, and then with the contrast color I kind of do the next round and I clean it up and I tidy up all of that to prepare it for the next time when I'm going to use the main color to move my stitches around. So that's just one way that I'm going about thinking of how I'm knitting this hat. So now I know exactly what I need to do every time I come to the round. If it looks like on my left hand needle that there's a lot of the contrast color happening, that means that it's time to use the main color, and vice versa. So I'm basically going to continue on in the same way, and I'm going to finish off this hat. And hopefully all of the leaves and the beautiful twisting and bending will all come together and form a very beautiful design at the end of the day. Her patterns are lovely. Katrin's patterns are really, really lovely. There's many of them that have this kind of meandering, twisty, loopy, swoopy kind of brioche effect to them. And so I am going to go check out her pattern catalog to see what else we can make next, because I'm sure that there are other ways to bend and twist these stitches, but this is really looking quite nice so far. If you are looking for the pattern, you can find Camella Hat pattern on Ravelry. The yarns that I'm using in this particular hat are the Strawberry Tea colorway for Superwash DK and the Shadow colorway for Superwash DK as well. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. All right, bye for now.